And we're back with some more Rimworld, and today it's going to be all about mods, specifically the ones I think save you the most amount of time and effort and just make Rimworld more fun and easier to play without really altering the game balance. And the first up we're going to look at is Camera Plus. This here is the default zoom in range. You cannot zoom in any further than this on default, and then this is the max zoom out range. You can't zoom out any further than this when playing Rimworld. However, Camera Plus has got you covered. With Camera Plus, this is no longer the max zoom in level. This is the maximum zoom in level, which makes it much handier when you're trying to do things that require a little bit of fine control and you're trying to get pawns into that tiny little square. As well as that, you can zoom out the whole way. And by the whole way, I mean on a standard sized map, you can just about make out everything, like the entire map. It shrinks things down to little dots as well, so you can see red dots where the enemies are, blue where animals. It just simplifies things, makes things easier. Once it's installed, you'll never know how you lived without it. This here would be something I consider a top tier mod that pretty much every save should have. Next up, we're going to go through the colonist bar at the top. By default, the only two things it does is you can move the colonists around by holding down the right mouse button and dragging them about the place, and as well as that you've got that coloured bar in the background that tells you how high their mood is. For example, they have almost max mood and you can sort of see it in terms of the bar in the background, whereas other pawns like this one here are a little bit lower down. However, it's not blindingly clear, so let's make a few changes here. Say hello to LTO colony groups. Now, I could go on about this for 10 minutes, and I hummed and hawed about whether or not this should be the first mod I've showcased, but you know what? It came in just below Camera Plus, but not for lack of features. For example, you can come in here into the options section and you can do so much. We are going to display weapons and have it always shown. Now, all of our pawns have a weapon shown beneath them, showing what they're actually equipped with. So handy when a pawn drops their weapon after getting knocked unconscious, or you don't know who's equipped with what. Or you'd like to know who's got those close combat weaponry, so you can summon them up for a defense and a choke point. At the same point, it also comes with a bunch of other things. Would you like to see their health? How about their rest? Maybe you'd like to see how much food they've eaten in those little bars beside them. Of course, it could be improved upon. What about, you would like color-coded mood bars, and in the background, their mood will determine what color the background is, so you can know the green people are fine, the yellow people are actually close to mental break territory, and people who are in red are in mental break territory. Or you can even use extended color palettes, so there's even more choices to choose from. There is so much here. Plus, you can change the size of things. You can actually, there we go. With a ton of moving things around, we've actually moved the weapons around from different sizes and spaces. There's so much customization you can do here. If you just want their faces showing, you can do everything you want. And that's just one part of this, the convenient way to display your pawns. Another thing you can do is you can create groups. For example, these 4 pawns are all miners. So they've been grouped up into one group. So if I want to select all of them at once, quite easy to do so. Now, to create a group, you just say grab 3 or 4 pawns and then hit boom, and there you go, you have a new group. You can of course disband that group at any time and remake them as you see fit. This is very handy for doing things like, these are all my medics, and this quickly allows you to select all your medics and see where they are. At the same time, it gives you a whole bunch of other orders you can do in here. For example, let's just give you a normal standard scenario that everyone has probably been in at some point. You have a bunch of components out on the map and you want to send out your mining crew to go get them. Well, the first thing to do is go into work orders and, well, let's tell everyone to go take a chow time. This will actually order all of those pawns to go grab a snack. So if we check on all our mining crew, they're all coming along to grab their food before they head out on their mining trip. This is a quick way to either make sure all your team are well fed before a fight or just force them to do this. There should be a button for this already. Then you go to the world view map to make your caravan, and this is where things get very interesting. You'll notice here we've got a mining group set off at the top. This is because those groups now show up when you go to make caravans, meaning we can just go boom, 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 all 4 of those miners are now selected, quickly and efficiently allowing you to make groups and send them out. This saves you so much time. Let's have a quick look at some of the other options. For example, you can go in here, set all your pawns' ideology color, and that will tell every single person in the group to go recolor themselves. For example, Miko there is currently getting a little bit of a dye job. In fact, all of the pawns are slowly doing that one after another. You don't have to do it. It just saves you a few clicks. Tell everyone in the group to go take a nap because, you know, they're about to go out on a large raid and it would be nice if they're all well rested. At the same time, there's orders to execute all downed enemies, capture all downed enemies if you're trying to collect a bunch of prisoners, rescue downed colonists, and tend to wounded colonists. So just say after a large fight, you can simply select all of your medics, then go straight in here, go to orders, and tell them all to rescue the downed colonists. They will go rescue them and then immediately start tending to them. Like, there's far more options here than I can cover in this, but my advice is go install it, start playing around with it, you'll never look back. Next up, let's look at hauling. When it comes to hauling things around the place, you don't really have a lot of options, bar to say manually grab a pawn and prioritize them on hauling something. This is time consuming. Say hello to the Allow tool. It introduces a few new features. The main one you'll use the most is Haul Urgently. This adds a whole new tab in the work schedule. Say here Haul Plus. So what we can do is say make this a level 2 command as opposed to your normal haul, which is way here at the end. This means that you can, if you have some stuff that emergently needs hauling, like, oh, a vital crop has just come in, you can set this to be hauled urgently and all the pawns will come along to grab those specific bits. It just makes hauling things so much simpler. Instead of having to manually select pawns and go in and get them to do it, they do it themselves. Another thing it comes with is the option for mining. Now, this one changes game's balance a little bit, in my opinion. You can simply, instead of mining, right-click and you get these two options. Mine connected ores or select strip mine tool. Now, mine connected ores just selects all of the steel or whatever material you've selected in a vein and it just basically mines it all out. This stops you having to mine out the top layer, then come back in and mine the next layer as you remember to come back and strip it out. However, this does let you know how big the vein is, so it is a little bit of a tell. Another option it comes with is the strip mining tool. This is usually more useful for mountain bases or things like that. You can do something like that, hit accept, and it will strip mine out areas in a sort of a grid pattern, which makes you more likely to find minerals. Last but definitely not least is the select similar option. This can allow you to select an item and go select similar things on map, and every single item of that type on the map will be selected. This is a handy way to do something like select all the corpses on the map and then allow or disallow them so that your pawns can start hauling. Same with weapons, armor, all sorts of things. Very handy for selecting things like components. Just say there's some components out on the map, you can go, select similar things on the map, and then if any of them have a haul urgently symbol beside it, then you know they're outside of your stockpiles and you can just select haul urgently and you're done. In terms of usefulness, this is the type of mod that you use literally every single in-game day, just hauling urgently the odd things that need it. The next mod is all to do with this little box down in the bottom left of your screen, which shows you information that's not really that important. Say hello to RimHUD by Jaxe. This replaces this entire section with a bunch of useful information, though I do think they missed out a bit here. But thankfully, you can modify this. I would strongly recommend modifying a few things. For example, we don't need to know that this is the sheriff of Emily's exes. Not really a thing we care about. In fact, we can go in here and remove that as an option. And then we can go in and add something else. Preferably, let's just say we would like to add a stat, and we were going to go with movement speed. Where did we put it? Move speed stat. And now, move speed shows up here for a pawn when you click on them. Not only that, it adapts to the pawn. For example, this one is injured, shows that they've got 2.2. If they're in the dark, it'll show that they're moving slower. This also works for animals. So now animals have their move speed shown as well. This, oh my god, the amount of times I've used this. You can see what speed the animal is moving at. You can see what speed your pawn can move at. Did you just shoot that animal? Did it then turn manhunter? Do you now know how fast it's moving because you've injured its leg? You now know how fast your pawn moves, and then you can determine whether or not you can get away. Do you need to find the fastest pawn you've got to go and trigger a bunch of pirates? Give the Doomsday to your fastest pawn. Give whatever weapon to your fastest pawn. It's just the amount of times you need to know how fast someone is moving, and normally you have to go in here, go past their market value, their nature focus, their meditation focus, their meat amount, how much leather they give, what type of leather, their psychic sensitivity. Oh wait, there's their move speed. It's just some of these stats are buried so deep down, it's ridiculous. Let's make another quick change here. Let's go in and actually, where is it? Yeah, see all of these in here? We usually don't need to know a pawn's stats all the time. Instead, we can remove a whole bunch of these. In fact, I would preferably like to remove half of this row. There we go, that looks a little better. We'll leave in shooting and construction because they are stats you do like to know occasionally. We're going to remove cooking and instead we're going to add in a new stat. What we want to add in is medical surgery success chance stat. Now do be careful, there is actually a surgery success chance factor stat that's completely different. It's medical surgery success chance stat. When this is added in here, it tells us what the surgery success chance of each pawn is. Now, this is very important for a number of reasons, but namely because when you want to do a surgery on someone, you want to make sure that your chances are about 90% and that you've got an excellent bed. I did a whole tutorial on these things, but what can happen is your surgeon, say Ali, was doing great and she was having perfect surgery success chance, and then she got a scar on her right hand and you never noticed because she got her injury while she was going around doing whatever. Now when she's going to do an operation, you can just quickly glance and check, yes, her surgery success chance is 81%, no. Instead, we will switch to our other surgeon, say Carol over here, or Grumpy Gran, both of them have surgery success chances above 90%. And we can quickly and efficiently tell that, and if any of them get injured or develop any problems in the meantime, we can quickly check this without having to go in here and go past how much human leather they would produce if we slaughtered them, to go all the way down to here, their medical surgery success chance. After making several changes in here, we've got a different layout that gives us a lot more information on our pawns. Shooting in construction is usually good to know, especially when you're out in the field, but not only that, you've got your medical surgery success chance, how many kills they've made, how many shots they've fired, and the amount of time they've spent on fire. I think our current winner is Sean Biog with an hour. You can put in whatever stats you'd like and normally access in here. It takes you so long to find them normally, and records as well. You can also display any records like damage dealt, all the stuff. If it's in here, you can display it down here instead without having to go into the sub-menus. But if you just want it for one thing, I would advise you to stick in the move speed. It will save you just oceans of time and clicks. Our next mod up is a little bit harder to put in a box. It doesn't replace anything. It just adds a new way to get access to information in the game. All of this information is accessible in game, it's just more difficult to obtain. For example, a simple one here is the trade price improvement option. This shows you how much of the trade price improvement each pawn will have depending on if you use them for negotiation. And normally I think, well, that's easy. Whoever's got the highest social skill, correct? Well, there's a few things that might change that. We just gave Zhang there an inspired trade, and because of that their trade price improvement shot up. Their social is still lower, but their trade price improvement is nice and high. Did you just get your hands on a bionic eye? I wonder who has the worst sight and could benefit from it. Oh, no, everyone's got perfect. Actually, let's talk about moving. Who's got the slowest movement speed of all our pawns? We've just got our hands on a bionic leg. Well, Zhang and Andy are injured, so let's just check Azul here. They've got 88% movement because they've lost their toe and they've got a field hand. So they could benefit the most. It's just a handy way to quickly sort all of this information out without having to just scroll through each one of your pawns. It becomes more and more problematic the longer the game goes on. Another thing it has in here is traits. Now, traits allows you to list off all of the pawn's traits, which, yeah, that's fine and well. But not only that, it also can allow you to list your enemies. Using dev mode, we triggered in a couple of attacks. And normally when you're dealing with attacks, you want to go in and find out, are any of them worth hiring? Do any of them have any decent traits? So now what you can do is just go in, grab enemies, and you can show traits. This, of course, can allow you to list off all the ones that have traits. Maybe you want looking for a crafter or a constructor. However, there's more. There's another mod you can get on top of that called Numbers Trait AddOn. With that add-on installed, you can go into the options, go into mods, and look at the Numbers Trait AddOn. Even the Numbers mod has a few options in here if you want to mess around with them. But the Numbers Trait AddOn allows you to go in here and color things in, as in you can change the colors of certain traits. Now, once you've done that, you can go in here, get rid of traits, and put in Numbers Traits Colored. And you can see that we can list off all of the traits that we're interested in and color them in. So if you're looking for tough, trigger happy, masochists, careful shooters, psychically hypersensitive, all of these things can be listed in whatever form you want, and then you can quickly and efficiently figure out, well, I would like to maybe recruit a bunch of these pawns, or you can figure out which ones you'd want. This saves an enormous amount of time when you're trying to build a specific type of colony. Did you just get hit by a psychic drone? Did that psychic drone turn all of the males in your colony, 50% reduction in consciousness? You can sort by gender if you want, or even better, you could just go in here and grab consciousness. And this means you can sort by who's got the highest consciousness, because maybe some of your males are psychically deaf and they don't get affected by it. There's a whole bunch of things you can use to quickly and efficiently sort your pawns. I can't cover all the options. My advice, install it and start playing around with it. For the final must-have mod, I would like to present to you Dub's Mint Minimaps. This is just such a lifesaver in terms of information procurement. Down here we've got our pawns that are attacking us, or the enemies that are attacking us, but we can see on the map where they are, and the plan would be I would be getting my pawns and putting them into their positions of where they're going to be dealing with the attacks. So while I'm dealing with this, I can, out of the corner of my eye, keep an eye on the blobs and see where they're moving, and if they change direction or they're going somewhere where I don't expect them to go, I can quickly and efficiently start redistributing my defenses. Normally what you would end up doing is moving your pawns around, zooming in to move your pawns around, then zooming out to see where the enemies are going, then zooming back in, and you're moving back and forth, wasting time. This map saves you time, clicks, effort, energy. It just saves so much hassle. As well as that, you can move it around the place, and it comes with a few extra features that are quite notably handy. For example, just say you want more marble rocks like this. You can click on the mark all things on map that are the same as the current selection, and now we can see all of the marble chunks that are on the map. As you can see, we have been coring the place out of marble chunks quite a lot. Then you can say there is granite chunks. You can even check where all your walls are if you would like. How many trees are left on the map? How many corpses there are on the map? you can just click on something and it will tell you where they all are, including down to minerals. So for example, if we click on this compacted steel, it shows us highlighted on the map where all the compacted steel chunks are left. This is just a quick and efficient way to find things. Saves so much time and effort. Those 7 mods are the ones I consider must-have in all my playthroughs. Just being able to tell that this pawn is going to bleed out in 20 hours by looking at the bottom left tab instead of having to go straight into health. Little things like that save time and clicks and makes the game just more pleasant to play. Now from here on in, we're going to get into things that are a little less essential and more just nice to have. First up, when it comes to cleaning a room, when you tell a pawn to clean it, they will only clean the patches of dirt you tell them to clean, which can be quite frustrating, especially when you want them to clean the entire room and not just specific dirt particles. The Achtung mod introduces a bunch of stuff, but the most important one for me is clean this room. Basically, the pawn will enter this room and then clean it entirely. If someone else comes in and drags in more dirt, they'll clean that too. So you can basically queue them up to clean multiple rooms, or you can have several pawns clean the exact same room, and they will keep cleaning it until it is done. Quick, fast, efficient, the only reason I use the mod for. The rest of it seems to have been integrated into the base game. When it comes to bed assignments, things are pretty rough. For example, Azula and Mitchell here want to share a bed together, but there's no way of really telling that with the default menu, or even doing a search for Mitchell to try and add them to this bedroom. With better bed assignments, those problems are a thing of the past. For example, we can just click on the bed here, and you notice it's just a little bit different. We can assign people with their lovers. So Mitchell Skaggs here, we can assign with husband. Done. And have the two of them in the same bed. Or we can come over to this one and assign another couple to it. It just allows you to move people as groups. Very, very handy. Also comes with the search function. So you can actually search for people and find them as well. Just a simple quality of life thing. Next up we have Fixable Mood Debuff alerts. For example here, Magnus is a little bit unhappy because they have an impressive bedroom. That's a quick fix, if we know they're actually having the problem. One quick install of Fixable Mood Debuff alerts, and we've now got this little alert down here going unhappy with bedrooms. Those two colonists, Magnus Leiden and Zeng Jin. So if we say take this over here and we put Magnus in it, that means Magnus has now got themselves a nice bedroom and is quite happy. Ascetic has impressive bedroom, now Ascetic has awful bedroom. Perfect. Then all we have to do is find the other pawn and assign them out their correct a decent bedroom as well. Quick, efficient, easy. It also warns you about clothed nudists, night owls with a daytime schedule, greedy or jealous with a bad bedroom. It's just simple, easy. Should be built into base game in my opinion. Otherwise you can be going around for literally days, weeks, or not even years without even noticing, especially if bedrooms end up getting destroyed during a raid. Time to replace these walls with marble and... oh, no, can't do that. Maybe I should upgrade my doors to steel. No, can't do that. The Replace Stuff mod does exactly what it says on the tin. Allows you to overwrite things with a different version of those things. So we can replace that wooden door with a steel one, and those marble blocks will overwrite those wooden or other such walls. And let's just speed that along. What it actually does is deconstructs the original wall and replaces it with the new one. However, this does affect game balance slightly, in that you can replace the walls on your fridge without letting all the chill out and, you know, spoiling your food, or if you're playing an extreme cold biome where letting all the cold in would slaughter your crops, such a thing is probably a little bit of an advantage. But on a normal playthrough in a normal biome, this is really not a balance changer. Next up, we have Quick Stockpile Creation. This tiny and very simple mod just adds one extra button. This, create a stockpile specifically for this item. So now we have a stockpile with preferred section for marble chunks, and just marble chunks. Nothing more, nothing less. This is really handy. And not only that, while it made it that one preferred, for example, this one over here, this is one we made earlier, is also preferred. But if we were to say grab the steel again and make another emergency stockpile, this one will be set to 1 higher. This allows you to quickly make a stockpile of something that you need in an area with just one button click. You don't need to scroll in and individually select which item it is. Do you need components in an area? Do you want to make a stockpile of marble near a forward construction project? All of these things just in one simple click. You won't use it every single day, but you will use it quite frequently and enough that it just saves you a bunch of time, effort and clicks. Next up, we have the ground targeting mod. Now, one wonderful strategy you can use is to target the ground with your grenades and use that to cause a sort of a splash zone outside of your area to deal enormous damage to melee attackers. This works wonderfully well against bugs, animal attacks, even tribal assaults that come your way. The problem occurs... oh, I think Sean's bugs down. The problem that occurs though... you get in there. The problem that occurs is what happens when the animals are bunched up like this and your grenadiers arrive late to the party. If you try and target, you end up targeting the animals instead of the ground. and then they will just draw fire into you. This means your grenadiers, if they arrive late, are absolutely useless. So how do we get around that? Allow me to introduce the ground targeting mod. Now, once this is installed and you have grenades or mortars attached, you see here that the grenades are snapping to targets. If we hold down shift, that stops happening entirely. Instead, we can just move it chunk by chunk and target specifically where we want, even though there's things in the way. This allows us to target the ground without having to worry about our people ending up... Okay, in this instance it's going to go very badly wrong, but this is a weird raid. Another scenario this is very useful in is sieges, especially as it gets later in the game and the sieges get larger and larger. And you're trying to target in the middle of them and your mortar keeps snapping to local targets and you want to actually just target the ground in the center because that's not moving. For example, if you try and click here, you're going to end up targeting Carlson and then you're going to be chasing them all around the map. As opposed to just, say, holding down shift, clicking right here, and boom, we're now targeted right on that central location. Ground Targeter saves you an awful lot of pain. One last mod in the same vein to help out, that's just a tiny quality of life improvement, is Hold the Grenades. When Alvarez here gets drafted, normally they would be set to fire at will, but now because they're equipped with grenades and the mod is installed, it automatically disables fire at will, meaning they won't try to blow up the nearest thing around them. Also works for Doomsday rockets, meaning we can equip someone with a Doomsday. Then when we actually draft them, they're not set to fire at will. Just a nice little quality of life improvement. How often have you actually wanted pawns to just fire at will with their grenades or Doomsdays? Seems like turning it off by default would probably be the safer, I bet. By default, the trade screen is absolutely horrendous. Trying to figure out how much of what you've sold and where and how much you're buying, it's a nightmare trying to actually tease it out of the information on screen. Say hello to TradeHelper. Down the right hand side of the screen it will tell you how much you're selling, how much silver that's going to gain you, how much you're buying and how much silver that is costing you. Meaning you can quickly determine that yes, they're going to be unable to pay me that much money and I would like to keep the flake as that is the most mobile one. No, and we still need more, so you know what, we'll take the gold as well. We'll take some of that back. Quickly and efficiently allows you to figure out how much of something you can sell or get away with. It's just beautiful. And that is not all. It comes with a wish list. This wish list thing takes a little bit of figuring out, but let's just say you want site trainers. You're on the lookout for site trainers. Then you want to look for site trainers, put any type though, and then put a comma after it. Now what happens is anything that begins with PSY gets highlighted. So Psychic Insanity Lances, Psychic Foil Helmets, Psychic Animal Pulsers, Psychoid Leaves. You can be even more specific about this. This is my current wish list that I'm running on though. In all fairness, this changes a lot. So for example, I can see low shield packs. In fact, I can just glance up here and go, yes, they are selling low shield packs today, and they do have lances in here. So they've either got a charge lance or a Psychic Insanity or Shock Lance in here somewhere in the menu. Quickly and efficiently allows you to determine if something's got what you're looking for. Are you on the lookout for a liver for your colonists? Stick liver in here, and then every time you go shopping, you'll be able to determine whether or not that person has a liver in their inventory just with a quick glance, without having to scroll through and double and triple check everything. Same if you're looking for weapons or ammo. Very, very simple mod. Adds so much quality of life. This next mod is a bit more niche. It's more designed for people who are going out and attacking a lot of places, and you end up stripping people instead of capturing them. So you strip the injured of their clothing just to get something to sell, and then when you go back to reform your caravan and you accept, you have to go into items and you're looking through for the clothing you stripped, and oh wait, no, that's tainted, wait, that one's also tainted, wait, that one's tainted, oh, that one's tainted, and you're trying to figure out which ones of these are the untainted clothing. But it's really awkward because it's off the edge of the screen and you literally have to wait for the text to pop up. Say hello to Tainted renaming. It takes all of the clothing that is tainted and moves the T to the start. So as you can see, all of these are tainted. Oh look, that cloth tribal wear is not. I will take that. It just simplifies grabbing clothing. No, sorry, wrong one. It makes your life just so much easier. That is literally the only thing it does, is moves the T to the start. Our next mod is to do with unloading your caravan when you bring it back. Normally this is a very time-consuming effort where your opponents have to run up to the elephants, move it on and off. Now this really only works with elephants, but what you can do is you can assign the elephants to a small space inside your storage area. This won't work with alpacas, unfortunately, or horses. They can't be assigned to a tile or can't be assigned to an area, but with elephants you can, and it's still viable to use this method. Once the elephants are in position, you can click on them, go into gear, and you can actually drop what they're carrying on the ground. This allows you to quickly go through, semi-quickly go through and grab them and drop all of this stuff without having to unload it. Other options, you could just let your pawns unload it. You are in your local storage area, so this would be quite fast. However, please welcome the Drop All Inventory mod. This introduces a new button onto the animals where they've got drop inventory. This will allow them to drop everything they're carrying all at once in one button click. Not only that, you can select all the elephants, hit drop inventory, and now you've unloaded all of them at one time. When you're playing nomadically, this is just such a lifesaver. However, do be aware this does put it on your pawns as well, so you can, end up dropping all the stuff they're carrying that way. And it can be used occasionally to do things that it probably shouldn't be allowed to do. It's overlooked, so use with caution if you're trying to play your game perfectly legit. For the last mod we're going for in the very nice to have section, we're going to go with QualityBuilder. Now this can be set up multiple ways, but in this instance what we're going to use it for is we're going to want a masterwork wooden bed, namely because it'll be really hard to get. Which there is going to be assigned to build a bed, and then what they will do is they will try and build it, and if the bed is not masterwork, they will instantly set it up for deconstruction, and then it will get built again. So done, and next pawn. Still nothing. Still nothing. Oh, excellent. This is mostly used for doing things though, like let's cancel that. Normally it's used for doing things like setting all your beds to excellent and setting them up to get rebuilt again and again until it's done. This is not something you're going to be using very early on when resources are tight, but later on when you've got the money, you'll probably end up going around and replacing all your beds with excellent ones, which reminds me I should really go around and do that. As mods go, quick, simple, easy and efficient to install, and if you go under the options section, under Quality Builder here, you can set the default minimum quality to say good, and that means if anything less than a good anything is built, it will be automatically deconstructed and rebuilt. Now do remember that only accounts for things like beds, shelves, things like that. Buildings like biofuel refineries, chemfuels, science benches, things like that, they don't actually have a quality level, so you don't have to worry about losing huge vast quantities of resources to this. Now time for rapid fire mods that are nice to have. This here is what your menu looks like normally. Dubs Mint menus. Just changes the menus on all of these production facilities so they actually show nice icons and they have little nutritional information like how much each costs to make. Very simple, very easy. Next up, we've got RenameColony. This just adds this little button down here, allows you to rename your side and rename your settlement. It's just one of those nice little quality of life things. Our next mod is Quest Expiration Critical Alert. Now you see this, when this hits 2 hours, we should get a critical alert on the right hand side indicating that that quest is about to expire. Quest expires in 2 hours, and then, as well as that, quest expires in 2 hours. So there it is, an alert that lets us know, hey, that quest that you were keeping track of, gonna go. As well as that, you can go in here and you can set it up that window will be paused 1 hour beforehand. This means if we actually let this play out just a little bit longer, the game will actually automatically pause, letting us know there is only 1 hour left in this quest, and we should really jump on that if we would like it. Yep, there you go. Simple, easy, make sure you don't miss any quests. Now, of course, if that sort of stuff annoys you, you could just, delete the quest because you don't want it and it's no longer in the queue and won't trigger any of those things. Our next mod is Visible Raid Points. When you actually click on a raid and have a look at it, it'll tell you how many points this raid was, how big it was, what caused everything. You can go through this and figure out roughly why this raid was so big and why it probably killed you. This mod combines very well with unlimited threat scale, which gets rid of the raid cap. There is actually a raid cap out at 10,000 points. You hit it remarkably quickly when you're playing on 500% difficulty. It sort of changes your view of the game, in that the reason large colonies are so successful is because the raids have capped out and they're so big that they can soak up all of the damage. That's why larger colonies are in general easier to play. Then we have Colourblind Minerals. It just changes the colour of the minerals, so steel looks kind of orangey rust type coloured, plasteel actually looks kind of blue, and it also changes uranium to be sort of a bright pinkish colour. Makes it very easy to locate those minerals, and once I installed it I could never really get rid of it. The abilities cooldown notification mod lets you know when your leaders come off cooldown. So our guide here, the moment their convertibility comes back online, we'll get a notification in the top left, same as Psychic Soothe and all of those, let us know that they're off it, and then we can use it again. Very handy time saver. Our final mod is a triple combo of 3 mods working in unison. The first one is the numbers mod, but we're going to go to corpses. So now that we've got the corpses up, we are going to show the traits coloured. This way we can sort by the traits coloured to find the colonists we want, which are the careful shooters. And we would like to find those careful shooters and extract their skulls, because the blasphemers deserve to have their skulls extracted. Unfortunately, that's a very slow and painful process, unless you have the Extract Skull mod. Then we can just sort by all of the traits, go down to all of these careful shooters, and then make sure that they're added to the skull pile. So as you can see, we are using 3 separate mods working in harmony to achieve a goal like that so simply that would have taken us forever otherwise. To all of the modding community out there that make Rimworld so much more pleasurable to play. You are all amazing people. I love the lot of yous. Anyway, good luck.